by Abraham. The only reason that it's harder to hold the optimistic thought about the subject you've been pessimistic about is because the habit of thought has a vibration active within you, and law of attraction is holding you there. It's holding you there. Law of attraction is giving you other thoughts that match it. Law of attraction is bringing you to people who think the same thing. Law of attraction is bringing evidence to you to support your belief. Of course, it's hard because reality has been formulating around it, and you believe your reality. You believe that reality. And we want you to believe this reality, the vibrational reality, the reality of the whole of you. So now if you've chosen to believe the absolutes, you know who you are and how you create your world. And if you've made a commitment to change, then we have some suggestions on processes and techniques that will help you create more of what you want. But before we get into using these tools, let's think fundamentally about what you're doing here. Some would have you believe that you're on a divine mission. But our preference is to come at this from more of a nuts and bolts perspective. There's no doubt you're headed into what will be a profoundly different state of ongoing awareness. Awareness of who you are and your connection to Source. But practically speaking, what you'll be doing is simply replacing old habits of thinking that no longer serve you with new habits of thinking that do. Reality is just a habit you've settled into. And now we're beginning the process of unsettling that old pattern of thinking and moving you into a reality that is more to your liking. We see you all, to some extent, suffering from what is itis. At some point, you made a belief choice about something. Let's say your parents introduced you to the concept of limits, perhaps by saying something like, money doesn't grow on trees, and you believed them. By law of attraction, every belief choice you ever make comes with its own life support system. It's a self-reinforcing cycle. You decide, the world conforms, and that proves your decision was correct. Then hour by hour, week by week, and year by year, you practice that belief into the certainty that appears around you. And then we come along and tell you about some new ways of thinking that can change that world of yours and everything that's in it. And you try it. And it doesn't work because you're stuck in that old cycle. You're stuck with old reality thinking. And for many of you, after a few attempts and maybe some minor successes, something comes along in that world of yours and knocks you off your perch. So let's be truly realistic here and declare that replacing old habits with new and better habits takes effort. And to make the necessary effort to keep your focus on when you want to be rather than where you are, you have to make a serious commitment to change. Sometimes we catch ourselves saying things like, your work is not to figure out how, your work is to decide what and create it, which of course is true. But then we find ourselves wanting to find a better word than work. Work sounds a lot like struggle, as in doing things you don't want to do so that you can get to the place of doing things that you do want to do. But struggle begets struggle. You can't struggle your way to a better place. You have to think your way there. And rather than call it work, we prefer that word effort. There's effort involved, joyful effort, but effort nonetheless. Remember, we're talking here about habits that may be so ingrained that they don't seem negotiable. But they are, and you can change them. Change means getting into the flow. And once you're there, you can throw the oars overboard and let the current carry you. Nothing you want is upstream. When you have your head straight, you can simply float downstream. We're talking about throwing away your must-do list and your should-do list and allowing yourself to be inspired into action. We're talking about feeling good about your life and your world. We're talking about living in a state of peace and power, fun and freedom. We're talking about life as you intended to live it. Now, before we get into the specifics of our favorite law of attraction techniques, let's make some general observations. Firstly, there is no one size fits all. Each of you has a unique story, and you will find some processes work better for you than others. Secondly, different processes will work better for you at different times. We suggest you collect a few favorites that you can call on to help you get off a train of thought that's taking you where you don't want to go. Thirdly, there's nothing sacred about the specific steps of these processes. Take them and adapt them. Make them your own. Mix and match them. So now let's get into the habit-changing business. A little effort may be required. 1. Meditation. Quieting your mind, going within, being with your higher self. Every minute you spend consciously engaged with your status quo world is a minute of unconsciously accepting and practicing that it's real. Balance is needed. Simply getting quiet is a powerful way of restoring that balance. There are many ways of doing this, and there are many tools you can use. We recommend you get yourself an audio player or some apps for your smartphone. Use a track of 10 to 20 minutes of peaceful, quiet music. Or use guided visualizations or affirmations recorded by others or those you record yourself. You can choose to go for no thought at all. At first, that may seem impossible because your mind is not used to simply switching off. But if you set yourself an intention, and if you choose to believe it's possible, you can do it. Get quiet and go within. Observe yourself. And when your mind takes off, don't give up. Simply let that thought go and come back to the peaceful place in the center of you. We like Deepak Chopra's concept that there is a gap between thoughts. As your mind switches from one track to another, see the gap that exists at that switching point. At first, it will seem so fast it's non-existent. But as you observe it, you can let it expand. And as you let it expand, you enter the realm of no thought. You can choose a guided awareness audio. We've proposed many of these in our sessions in this community. Here's one that we particularly like because it's a composite of many of the thoughts and ideas we have shared in our discussions. We'll take you through it now. Get quiet and go within. Here we go. Learning to be me. Each day I speak these words to myself, and I'm allowing myself right now to know the truth of them. I treat myself with enormous generosity of spirit. And even as my mind wanders through many different rooms, I return always to this core intention, to know myself as I truly am. As I practice acknowledging who I am, I'm accepting it at all levels within me. Each moment of conscious awareness I spend acknowledging the truth of who I am enrolls my subconscious self as a powerful partner in this game we are playing together. I'm a consciousness that is part of the collective consciousness of Source. Source is a river, and I am a tributary that feeds into and flows from that river. I'm a part of the endless stream that is God. This is the ultimate truth of who I am. This is the only thing that's fundamentally true about me in all realms across a timeless universe. This is the only thing that I am and can ever be, and yet it is everything. With these words, I experience my connection and my oneness with infinity. I am allowing myself right now to be aware of who I am. Each day I'm raising the bar because I expect more from this game of life on earth. I've committed to myself to move beyond the status quo, to engage more creatively and more joyfully in this adventure I've stepped into. I'm wanting more and more to feel good, because that's how it feels when I drop those old limiting beliefs of mine. I'm moving beyond old habits and into excitement, and then into power, and then into ecstasy. I'm living today and from this day forward within the questions, how do I feel and what do I want now? For me and my subconscious self, these questions are becoming part of our ongoing and ever-present awareness. I'm learning to be generous and loving to myself. I'm learning to dance with the gods as the equal of all beings, because that's what I am. I'm learning to be me. I'm beginning to know at all levels within me what is truly real. If I step into a hole, I see more and more clearly the steps that lead up and out and forward. And I shine my light and I take those steps into peace and fun and freedom and adventure. I exist as a thought. What I choose to think creates me and my worlds. Everything is as I choose it to be. My desires and intentions and my chosen beliefs and expectations shape the individuation that is me. And the context that surrounds me is a mirror of those beliefs and expectations. I exist as a thought, and everything that exists around me exists as a thought. It is my thoughts that create the physical me in this physical world, with all of its actions and sequences and beginnings and ends and time that marches on. And so even as I acknowledge that I'm an action-oriented being in an action-oriented world, I also acknowledge that what shapes my existence is simply my thoughts. I answer to no one. I am not here to serve or learn or to pass some test. I am Source, and I'm here to experience another aspect of myself in this leading edge environment. I'm here to experience the joy of creating new things in this focused space-time world, whatever those things might be. One thing today and perhaps another tomorrow. I follow my heart. I'm here for the fun of it. The choice is mine. Every time I choose a different thought, it makes a difference. Each small choice, each deliberately different thought creates movement in the fabric of my existence. And as I be here and now in this place of playing with new thoughts, I can feel within me that I am now different than I was just a moment ago. Each new thought makes a huge difference. This new thought right now has made a difference. I feel within me the power of that new thought. I see stretching before me a world that has shifted, and I can feel myself emerging into that new version of me and my world. Everything can change in an instant. And I know that my story changes as soon as I let go of all resistance. Resistance is part of my old story. This is my new story. As I practice here and now, this awareness of me and my power, I know that abnormal is my true normal. There is nothing I cannot be, do, or have. There is nothing I cannot change. This is my new story, my true story. It's my new, true story. And I'm letting it sink in right to the very core of me. I'm learning to be me. Good. This one has a recording of this with some background music, and we'll be making that available on our website. It's a 10-minute audio, and he uses it daily as an auto loop. Sometimes it loops 5 or 6 times in one session. Sometimes he hears things playing in one session that he misses in the next. It matters not. Sometimes it's an effort to start. Sometimes he's on the second or even the third loop before he finds his way to the place where he lifts his spirits. But he always lifts them, and so can you. We'll be continuing soon with some more of our favorites. We recommend you explore them. See what works for you, and when you've got them down, use them. This is where your commitment is important. As you begin, this is where effort may be needed. Remember that you're creating that reality of yours minute by minute. And while there's nothing necessarily wrong with being on autopilot, know that every minute you allow yourself to be totally mesmerized by your status quo world is a minute of unconsciously accepting and practicing that the world is real. Balance is needed. And as you commit to spending time each day with your favorite processes, what you will find is that your subconscious starts to get the message. It starts to support you into noticing when your emotions are heading south so that you can change direction. And the better it gets, the better it gets. To be continued.